It is great seeing my next guest back in action. He's going to be taking on Alex da Silva, UFC Fight Night, June 4th. It is Joe Solecki back here on the program. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just got done training a little while ago. Got some food, and I'm going to pick my daughter. So I'm just hanging out till tonight's sessions now. So yeah, so far so good.
That's awesome. Don't want to make you late for your daughter. I know how that is, picking up kids on time. But first and foremost, the beard. This is a new thing. Is this something because you've been off for a while, or what's up with the beard now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got lazy. I didn't shave for a little bit. It was patchy. It was a rough one. But my wife was like, "No, I don't want you to shave." So I have to listen.
You got to, yeah, you got to listen to the wife.
I'm coming off my first loss. You know what I mean? It could like the Rocky IV, like the comeback beard. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. So now it's here to stay. She said it's staying, so it's staying, and I don't really have a say in the matter. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
There you go. Happy wife, happy life, as they say, right? So, I think you're on the right path there. It looked like you got a lot of notice for this fight. When did you find out?
I think it would have been about 7.5 weeks.
Oh, cool. Okay.
But the way we were training, it was perfect because I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. So really, like the first half of the week had been a hard week. I had to do like my regular Monday, hard cardio Tuesday. Like I just knew something was coming up anyway. So started ramping up the conditioning regardless. And then Wednesday did my sparring like I would for a fight, and so on and so forth for the rest of the week. So it really didn't. We got to play 8 weeks, 7.5 weeks of notice, 8-week camp. So everything the way it would have been, and I've been training nonstop with a very, very full schedule with a lot of volume since the last one. So not a big deal. We're ready to go. So it was perfect.
Yeah, we haven't seen you in the cage since October. I know you had that grappling fight sort of in between there, but was this kind of the right amount of time off, or were you trying to get in there a little bit sooner?
I'd like to be more active, I always say that, but it's just the way it's played out, and I totally get it because they have a lot of guys. At first I kind of thought maybe it was like a punishment for like 2 not so exciting fights in a row, but I had seen guys that had way more boring fights or losses and stuff come back and fight sooner. It's the weight class too. There's so many lightweights, so I get it. I would not want to be the matchmaker for this division, but the thing was things presented themselves. Some things that I just chose to do myself, like the Abu Dhabi trials. And some things like the match with Cerrone and the Fight Pass Invitational. So, the good thing was I was staying in shape. I was ready to go. I thought I'd fight a lot sooner, but I was like, I'll hop on anything that gets offered because I want to compete and just exercise these demons of losing. So it was like, as long as my agreement was like, I won't change my training for the match. I'll just take that Saturday instead of like my hard sparring or grappling day. I would, compete. And that's what I did. So it worked out fine. It was good. And I think, in hindsight, every time.
That's great. You kind of touched on it there. What was it like getting to grapple Donald Cerrone in December? Cowboy Cerrone, that was it was pretty awesome, and you ended up getting the win there.
Yeah, it was great. It was great because it was a high-profile match. Like I said, he's a very good grappler. And I could feel that right out of the gate. I knew that because I had heard people say that too. Better than he probably gets credit for, but it's probably not the best grappling win I've had. Like the best pure grappler, but it's definitely the highest profile grappling match I've had. And just it was a really cool time with the timing and it was right before the holidays. It was the day before New Year's Eve. Having my daughter in the hotel room and her crying and keeping us up or whatever. She wasn't crying actually. She threw a party the night before. She got up, or the night before weigh-in, so it would have been 2 days out. She decided that she loved road trips and woke up in the middle of the night and was like, "It's 3 a.m. We're in a hotel room. I'm gonna dance and party and have a good time." Whereas if that was a fight, I would have been freaking out. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, you need your sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. And then the next day I slept fine, but it was fun. I got to compete in front of some guys that I, from my old gym at home at Hassett's, and have John Hassett in my corner, my lifelong coach. That was awesome for both of us, or for me. I hope you had a good time. But it was really awesome for me to be like, look, like I left as like an 18-year-old kid, and now look, like I'm grappling these high-profile guys. This is fun, And then the next day was New Year's Eve. There's nothing better, even if it's just not a fight, coming off a win. We're back home where I'm from, so like we went down the shore to like super nostalgic too, because my grandfather and my whole extended family has like a shore house, so we went and stayed there because no one's using it in the off season, and got to just hang out and have pizza and watch movies and enjoy New Year's. And it was kind of really nostalgic for me because I grew up going to that house all the time in the summer and everything, so it was all the way around just a cool experience. But you probably mean more so getting to actually grapple Cowboy, which was really cool too, because as much as I'm confident in my grappling and I know where I belong in both realms, MMA and grappling, it's nice for people to see. People were really blown away by that match for me being able to submit them quickly, which, not to sound arrogant or rude, I necessarily wasn't, because I know I trained with guys that are probably just as good, if not better. So it wasn't like I was shocked, but it was a really fun test, so it was cool.
And just quickly, just because we got to talk about it, the Jared Gordon fight. What sort of went wrong in that one that you're bringing into this fight?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I mean, we have to give credit to him doing things right too, right?
Yeah.
Not get up in that second round. He was smothering my hips. He did an awesome job. And then in the third round, we kind of got into like a spar. It felt like, where it was like back and forth, and I think we were both having a good time in a sense of like tagging, not getting hit, and you know. So number one, what went wrong is his hand got raised. It was a split decision. It may have been able to go either way, but I don't feel like it should have went my way. I think I lost. I think it shouldn't have been that close to begin with. But I think, I could sit here all day long and talk about how I felt going into that and, my mindset and all of that. But those are things that I'm responsible for, right? It's not saying that I would have won with a better mindset or anything else. It was just definitely some things that needed to be brought to my attention. And unfortunately, losing, I always learn from my wins too, but losing brings some things to your attention that you weren't aware of. And that's just how it goes. I think I went in with a mindset of like 3-0, just don't mess this up type deal, because I've been pretty open about having imposter syndrome in the past and being like, I always see myself as here, not here, or whatever. And I think, maybe the people that doubted me in the past in my life from 6 years old or whatever it's been, I took over for those voices. I became that voice for myself. And that's never a good thing, definitely a lot of fear of man and just playing into expectations and all this nonsense does not matter. And it made me really hunker down on what's important, which is first and foremost my faith and going out there and using what God's given me, and having a platform, to glorify Him. And then the other thing is going to be my family and my coaches and team right behind that, and I was worried about so many things that weren't that, not bad things, not like, oh, I was like out partying or something. I was not. I trained harder for than Miller and harder for Miller than Hubbard. I always escalate the training. It wasn't even that. It was just I think I really fought a very lackadaisical fight, which, even in my most boring of fights, I'm a grinder. It's not been that. And I don't think you're going to see that again, ever again, but especially not on June 4th.
Very well said. Very succinct. I like it. Alex da Silva, what do you know about him? How do you feel like you match up against him here?
Yeah, I wasn't terribly familiar just because, like I said, the roster's huge at 55. Got with him about the second Jason House called me. It was like, got as familiar as you can in 30 minutes with someone, and it's pretty darn familiar. Yeah, well-rounded, explosive, definitely dangerous, powerful, good ground game, good wrestling, good counter wrestling, very good everywhere, and has a pretty good strength of schedule in the UFC. So we can't look at him being 1-2 and be like, oh, he's only has one win or anything like that, because Hubbard was 1-2 coming into our fight. Well, the first one that didn't happen, and I was terrified of that fight because he's a monster, So same thing. We know who's in front of me. We know I've got to be on my P's and Q's with everything. I've got to keep my feet moving, my head moving. But at the same time, with what I was saying with last fight, is I came out to really I did not want to look stupid or get embarrassed. All these things I never cared about. I am willing to put myself in the fire where he's good to do what I need to do. He's got a good left hook, right hand, left hook. So do I, and he's explosive. I'm pretty explosive out of the gate as well. So I'm willing to go out there and be very bold and get after him and fight him and risk, something bad happening, because we have to if we want to get these wins, by stepping in there with Jim Miller at any range, on the ground, everywhere, I'm at risk, right? So it's that. I'm ready to go out there and get after him. And the whole point is going to be to overwhelm him with stimulus and actual motion and, pressure. And then, try to make him fade here. And then, if and when that happens, the plan is to, land a good shot, catch his neck, whatever it might be. But if that doesn't happen and I'm doing those things, I'm going to get my hand raised after 15 minutes, which I'm absolutely fine with as well.
Training partners, who've been some of the main guys leading into this fight?
Yeah, the same gyms as always, Fitness Edge MMA, Gym O, and then my home gym, Salty Dog Jiu-Jitsu. But the guys have been awesome, man. I've had Cody Jones a ton. He's a great pro out of Myrtle Beach in Fitness Edge, and he's going to be fighting on XMMA here, which is a pretty big regional promotion.
Yeah.
That should be in July. Not to announce that for him, but I just did. And then Zach DeLeon, the world's toughest attorney. He'll be in my corner as well. It's so funny because he comes in and, like, with me and other pros and stuff like UFC, Bellator, gives us just the toughest sparring looks and grappling as well. And I'm like, man, it stinks for me because you're so tough and I have to go, oh man, you're a 1-0 amateur, but he's not. Like, I see what he does to everybody, But you guys will never see him or hear of him because he may fight another amateur fighter too. But he's got a career, a big boy career. Well, he's just graduated law school, so congrats to him. But coming out of the gate where he can make a guaranteed living, not like fighting. So why take that risk, But he's a monster, been a big help. We have, Nick Rodriguez out of GMO is fighting for the ring combat title this weekend. So I'm very, very confident he's going to get that done. And I think the next step will be his next step, the UFC or Dana White Contender Series or Bellator. He's ready. He's been great. I want to thank him. Paul Carson, who I think Brian Barberina probably mentioned as well. He used a lot. He's a monster. He's another one. I think he's like going to make his pro debut or something like that. But just great wrestler from App State. Good striker, explosive guy. Been grappling a long, long time. Just impossible to get anything with. And that's just a few of them. But the nice thing about that is I have all these guys coming in fresh on me. So all my camp has been Shark Tank rounds, which is probably new for me. I think can't remember a camp where I had that. And I'm going, man, like I think it's going to be nice to go in there on fight night and have one man standing in front of me who is going to, I'm a human being. I'm going to fade a little bit, of course, but he's going to fade under that pressure too. And I get to test his will. I haven't gotten to do that this camp, and I think that's the perfect remedy because I talked about being a little lackadaisical in that last fight. Well, now I'm a competitive guy. So now every round with each guy is the only, that's my fight with them for the day. Whereas if I'm sparring the same guy for 3 rounds, maybe he's got me on the wall and I'm like, oh, I'll get him next round when he's tired or something. I only get 1 round with each guy and I'm not letting them walk out of here saying they beat me up, So I've got to have that urgency. So it's going to be fun to see how it all plays out on fight night with the, with the conditioning, the urgency, and all that good stuff. But those are the training partners that have been a huge help. Of course, John Salter, but I count him as my coach, he trains with me, of course. But there's so many more than that, but those are the guys that like the MMA sparring.
Kind of talked about it there. How do you envision the fight playing out on June 4th? I mean, the main thing is just getting the win, right? And being entertaining, like you kind of said.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is going into this fight is going to be, and talking about, I talked about in other interviews, a new addition to my team for me is a kickboxing coach by the name of Alan Branch. But the thing that we've been talking about, kind of like the martial arts mindset, is like that present mind, So I'm really not going in there with any expectations of how this guy is going to come out, right? He's been out 2 years, but you can look at that. Anything in fighting, you can look at and flip the coin either way. You can go, oh, he might come out cautious, might come out over aggressive. I don't know, but I know I planned for Jared Gordon to walk me down. The first thing he did was take a step back and start feinting an uppercut. And I was like, this is why you don't prepare for one thing, So it's exactly that. Going to be ready to make my reads, whatever happens. But ultimately, the name of the game is going to be that pressure. That's going to be with the stimulus. I've got to be active. I'm an active guy. I move my head. I move my feet. I feint a lot. I level change a lot. And then once I get my hands going, whether it's from striking or get my hands locked in the grappling, I think that's where I can really start to make him fade. And I think time in the cage is going to fade him out if I'm doing my job. And the thing I like about that is it comes down to me and not waiting for a specific reaction or anything else. Is if there's openings, great. If they're not there, then we have to be able to manufacture them. And that's what we spent a lot of this camp doing.
So after this, again, not looking past June 4th, is the idea to get maybe a quicker turnaround just to kind of make up for some time, or you just kind of taking it fight to fight and sort of reassess after this one?
Yeah, just fight to fight. I got to come out and, God willing, I'll be healthy and be able to get home to my family and get back training for the next one. That's always the plan, Win, lose, or draw, it's always back in the gym in some capacity on Monday, But no, just worried about Alex and getting this done, going out there and doing my job on June 4th. And if I do that, I always say that, but I really believe it is the rest will take care of itself. Just going to take them as they come. But I would like to be more active, of course. But at least one more before the end of the year. God willing, I'm healthy would be awesome.
Last question. I know we're a couple weeks removed from it, but what did you make of Charles Oliveira's impressive win over Justin Gaethje? I know he ended up losing the title, not making weight, but quite the performance.
Yeah. Oh man. And the weight thing was so weird. Like at first when I heard it, I was like, we were driving back from GMO, so I had a long car ride. My buddy Zach that I was talking about was like, oh, he missed weight. I'm like, oh man, it's so unprofessional, this and that. When you see the whole circumstances, it's kind of weird because you're like, I've kind of had that thought getting on the scale in the back too in the hotel where you're like, 2 people have verified that I've made weight. Like I don't understand how this should even be a question. But whatever, that's not my headache. But yeah, super impressive. I said he's got I keep giving him the treatment I gave Anderson where like I don't dislike him at all. I don't even know the guy. I like watching him fight. But something about him, maybe I don't relate to him, maybe because he's tall and I'm short and I just don't like it. I don't know. But like he's not my favorite fighter, so I don't like actively root for him. I end up always thinking the next guy is the guy to beat him. And I was like that with Anderson. Like but Yeah, I keep being wrong again and again and again, and it's so impressive because there's nowhere to really save him. Like if you're a better wrestler, maybe you could take him down, but then you got to deal with all that. And on the feet, he's taking damage, yeah, but he's giving out a lot of it. So it was pretty darn impressive. But it'll be interesting to see when they start mixing 5 through 8 into the top 5. I was just saying that in another interview. It's like it's becoming that what Dustin Poirier always calls the fashion show. Like these top 5 keep recycling against each other, and when they lose the title shot, they're like, all right, well here's the 4 guys I'm willing to fight, and it's all the other top 5. So like, where does Gregor Gillespie come in? Where does Dariush and some of the guys that maybe aren't the loudest, but they're great fighters. So it'd be fun to see him, see if he can clean out the division. Then amazing. But you got to start fighting some other guys besides the big draws. And I know it's a business too, but I'd like to see some of those guys fight them just because they're fun matchups.
Joe, don't want to make you late for your daughter. Thank you so much for taking the time. Always a pleasure. If there's anyone you want to thank before we get out of here, I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for having me. Of course, it's always great talking with you. It's nice to know people still care after a loss sometimes because you get in your head. You're like,
oh, all day. Listen, we're going to be doing these win or loss, man. It's all good. I was like talking to you. Yeah.
Like you think that, and like it's the same every fight. Like, oh, I'm talking to the same guys. Like, oh yeah, it doesn't really short-term memory, But for us, we're like, we're living it every day. But so I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. I talked about all the training partners I talked about at all the gyms, but also the coaches. You get to talk about them. But Jeff Jimmo, our head coach, who I always use the same word, but it's pretty all-encompassing. Is a genius. He does it all, and he does a lot of it for me. Through he plans the first half of my week. I'm not up there, so he still plans that for me, and that's pretty cool too. So he's a master of all of it. A lot of guys want to be like that, and they kind of do their fighter a disservice because they don't actually know the conditioning, or they're mostly a grappler, but they can't do the striking. Like he is all of it, and it's pretty awesome. So I want to thank him, John Salter, who I always talk about, but can't thank him enough in every facet. Like training partner, coach, friend. He's a realtor now. That's kind of cool. So he's been, but he's our realtor. So it's like just funny because you get two, like, I don't know anything about it. He does, but you're like, there's 2 fighters talking about it. Doesn't make sense. Just super helpful all the way around. My boxing coach, Chris Gald, Alan Branch, who I mentioned as well, who I've been working with right before camp started. So that's a new addition, and really been exciting because he's been challenging me a lot, and that's really, really fun as well. Just all those guys. Most importantly, more than anybody, is going to be my wife. She's the best, and it's so much fun to look back, like every single fight coming out of it, and we always just goes back to the beginning, and you're like, this is just, I can't believe. I was saying to somebody that was like just starting out, I was like, I'm like, dude, when I look back, it's like we walked through a minefield, but we were just running, like, we were being careful, and all of a sudden you're like, man, we could have fell here, and she wasn't second guessing me, and I wasn't second guessing. So it's amazing to have somebody that kind of blind faith in you, and she just continues to be that. Like there was so many nights after this last fight where I'm like, especially the first week after, I'm like looking at her and the baby, and like, she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, like one more takedown, and like my bank account's doubled, or whatever it might be. And she's like, no, please don't think about that. Like, whereas like there's a lot of people that would have been like, yeah, you couldn't have got one more takedown. Like,
yeah.
Blind faith that she has in me, and love and support, and God's just blessed me with like an amazing, gracious woman that I just can't get over sometimes, So I just want to thank her for all the years of it, and my daughter, of course, who can't understand what we're saying, but maybe she'll see it and she'll flex the screen like she does and goes da da, and yeah, just all of that, man. I really, really appreciate it, and it's just great to have that support. So everybody that supports me, and my lifelong coach John Hassett, we talked about, who. I always, even when I message him, I always just put the word everything. I go, I still don't know if that covers what you've done for me, but thank you for everything, because just as far as giving you the example to set out to be like, but also being an active role in my life and coaching me and helping me. And to this day, when I go up there, he's still I'm learning more and more and more. And I go for the jiu-jitsu, but I always leave with something, life related. So I want to thank him too. So just, yeah. And everybody that we train with, man, we have a really big family through our gym, and I just want to thank them as well.